Thank you, Karen. I forgot to hit unmute there for a second. My name is Zach Dillinger, and I work in the communications area at the Department of Insurance and Financial Services, or DIFS as we call ourselves. With me today as moderator, I have Ian Oberg, my counterpart in the DIFS communications office. Also with us today will be auto insurance analyst Parker Fisher and our Director of Innovation and Research, Chad Arnold. They will be helping to answer your questions a little bit later on. And speaking of questions, to enter your questions today, you'll click on the speech bubble with a question mark on your screen. Find that speech bubble there, and you can click on that. You can type in your questions. So I'm here to dive a little deeper into the changes to auto insurance and help you understand what's happening and how you can move forward. So we do know that the changes can seem a little big, but we are here to help and make sure that you understand the changes that are coming this summer. And we will provide you with resources, including our website, our videos, and a few publications that you can download or print out and share with your friends and family. You'll also be able to watch the presentation again later on our website, as we have previously recorded the presentation. So if you don't get everything down, you don't feel like you have to write everything down, you'll be able to see it again. So hopefully you learned something, and let's get started. All right. So first, some background about DIFS. We are fee funded, and we don't require your tax dollars to operate. We regulate Michigan's insurance and financial industries, which includes payday lenders or deferred presentment companies, insurance agents, companies, mortgage companies, and state chartered banks and credit unions. Our guiding principles are that we're regulators, and that means that we work for you as a consumer protection agency. Now, in our day-to-day work, we foster economic opportunity for Michigan consumers, provide fair access to institutions that are safe, sound, and entitled to public confidence, and provide financial and insurance education, as we are here doing today, to help people understand their options. So now that you know a little more about who we are, let's get on to the changes in auto insurance. To understand the changes that the new law makes, you first need to understand that the basic Michigan auto insurance policy that you must buy in order to drive legally has three mandatory parts. Now, those parts are property protection insurance, or PPI, personal injury protection medical coverage, we call that PIP, and residual liability, bodily injury, and property damage. Now, that is quite a mouthful, so we call that BIPD for short. Now, I'll only be speaking about how the new law affects the last two. It doesn't really make changes to the property protection insurance portion. So PIP and BIPD, that's what we need to talk about. So the statements you see on the screen, those are the big changes, big picture changes that the new no-fault law makes to the way auto insurance works here in Michigan. The new law provides drivers for the first time with a choice on the level of medical coverage that they want to buy. It lowers costs while maintaining the highest benefits in the nation, and it increases consumer protections. Now, I'm going to touch on each of those points a little more and explain how those things work. But first, I want to tell you that these changes that we're going to talk about, most of them take effect for policies which are issued or renewed after July 1st, 2020. So here in a couple of weeks, that's when this stuff is going to start happening. So let's get into PIP. So remember that PIP medical coverage is one of those mandatory three, and PIP pays for medical care, recovery, and rehabilitation if policyholders are hurt in an auto accident. Now, under the old law, everyone had to have unlimited PIP medical coverage. You didn't have a choice. If you were going to drive legally in Michigan, you had to buy it. But now you're going to get to choose a level of personal injury protection which is right for you, your family, and your budget. The new available limits equal or exceed the highest benefits in the country, and Michigan remains the only state where unlimited PIP medical continues to be an option. So after July 1st, you're going to have a choice of 6 different levels. Those levels that are available to you are unlimited coverage, which is what you have now, up to $500,000 in coverage per person per accident, up to $250,000 in coverage per person per accident. There's a second $250,000 coverage level. The difference between the two is that the second one allows you to exclude people from your coverage. So other members of your household and your family, that if they already have health insurance that will pay for auto accidents or another Michigan auto policy that provides PIP, you can exclude them from your coverage and save some on your premium because you're not buying that coverage for that person. There's a $50,000 level in coverage per person per accident if the named insured is enrolled in Medicaid and all the other household members have either qualifying health insurance or another Michigan auto policy. Now, finally, there's also a medical PIP opt-out, which may be available to you if you have Medicare Parts A and B. Now, I want to be clear here as well that Medicare Advantage Part C would also count because Part C is essentially A and B, what those same coverages are. So Medicare Part C would also qualify. And again, all the other members of your household have qualifying health insurance or another Michigan auto policy. So it's important to know that if you don't make a choice, an actual specific choice with your insurance company or your agent filling out a form, you will just default to receiving the same unlimited coverage that you have, and you'll continue to pay the premium associated with that option. So part of PIP is this lowers costs and maintains benefits idea. Now, we said that it would lower costs while maintaining benefits. And what you see here on the screen is one of the most important ways that PIP is doing just that. Each insurance company will be required for the next 8 years to reduce statewide average PIP medical premiums. Now, the amount of the reduction depends on the level chosen. So for the unlimited option, it's a required average 10% reduction. For the $500,000 option, it's a 20% reduction. For the $250,000 options, it's a 35% reduction. For the $50,000 option, it's a 45% average reduction. And if you've chosen the opt-out, it's a 100% reduction because you're no longer purchasing that coverage. Now, here are some additional ways that the new law reduces costs. We will have a fee schedule for auto insurance. Now, unlike with health insurance or Medicare, auto insurance previously didn't have limitations on what a healthcare provider could charge for those services. So when I say healthcare provider, I mean doctors, nurses, ambulance services, things like that. This fee schedule is a required cost control measure between the auto insurance companies and those healthcare providers to make that PIP medical service more affordable for consumers. So it's something that you won't really see in action. You'll see it on your premium. The new law sets a schedule of fees that can be charged by providers for those PIP medical services. Now, this provision takes effect after July 1st, 2021. So that's next year. This is one of the things that takes effect next year, not this year. And it's very important that you know that you're not going to lose your care. It just means that those costs associated with that health care will be better controlled. Also on the screen, you see the Michigan Catastrophic Claims Association and their assessment. So that's the MCCA. And the MCCA is an association of auto insurers, which was created by the state legislature. And that reimburses member companies for PIP medical costs which exceed an identified amount in the event of a catastrophic injury. Currently, that amount is $580,000. Now, the MCCA has already announced that as a direct result of this new law, it's able to lower its per vehicle assessment starting July 2nd of this year, 2020, which will save Michigan drivers at least $120 per car. The fee currently today is $220 per car. It's going to $100. Now, that $100 fee will only be paid by those drivers which choose unlimited PIP medical. If you choose less than unlimited PIP medical, you won't pay that assessment to the MCCA at all. Now, one of the most important parts of this new law is it increases consumer protections in the insurance market and helps us make sure that the market itself is fair. Now, this new law eliminates the use of certain non-driving factors in the rating process. So by the rating process, what I mean is the process by which the insurance company determines how much your insurance coverage should cost, your premium. This new law prohibits those companies from using your sex, your marital status, your home ownership status, your credit score, your educational level, your occupation, and your zip code in setting those auto insurance rates. Now, this new law also created the Fraud Investigation Unit, and this is a new unit within DIFS which investigates criminal and fraudulent activity related to the insurance and financial markets. Now, those folks work with the Attorney General and law enforcement to prosecute those crimes. And this is really a double benefit for us because not only is it an important consumer protection method, but it's also a cost savings method because auto insurance fraud drives up premiums for everybody. Now, the new law also requires prior approval. So previously, auto insurance companies could file and use rates, which just means that they can submit that rate to DIFS and begin to use it immediately. This new law now requires prior approval, and that means that all rates, policies, manuals, forms, all of those things, those all must now be filed with and approved by our office here at DIFS prior to being offered to you as consumers. Now, finally, this new law increases fines and penalties. So it allows for increased fines on insurance companies, agencies, and licensed agents for certain violations of the law. So now let's talk about making your choice. As I said before, you will need to choose a coverage level that's appropriate based on your needs and your budget. To make your choice, your auto insurance company or agent will give you a form. Now that form describes the benefits and risks of the coverage options that you have. Now you may also want to talk with your auto insurance agency or company or agent to discuss your personal auto insurance needs before you do fill out that form to make your choice. And also, when you do go to make that choice, you might need to bring a few things with you, depending on the level of coverage you're going to choose. So you might need information from your health insurer or your employer, which identifies individuals covered on your health insurance. You might need a statement as to whether your health policy complies with the law, which means that it does not exclude or limit auto accident injuries and has a deductible of less than $6,000. Now, earlier I talked about qualifying health coverage. This is an important component of what qualifying health coverage means. So QHC, or qualifying health coverage, does not limit or exclude auto accidents and does not have a deductible which exceeds $6,000. Now, also, if you're a Medicare or Medicaid participant and you're going to choose either to opt out or select that $50,000 level, you may need to bring proof of enrollment that says that you are in fact a member of participating in Medicaid or Medicare. Now, I mentioned earlier the form, and what you see here on the screen is a sample of what that PIP form that your company or agent is going to give you, what it might look like. Now, I say might because it can look a little different than what you see here on the screen, but it will still contain all the information and all the terms that you need to make your choice. Now, it's a 4-page form, so it's kind of long, but you really only have a small part to fill out, and all the information you need to do that is included on the form itself. Now, on the first page, you see, on the screen, excuse me, you see the first page of the form. Now, that first page has some definitions of some words that will be used and some other important information that you should read. Now, here I want to stop for a second and point your attention to our website, which is michigan.gov/auto insurance. You can find this PIP form on our website, so you can download it and read it carefully before you ever go to make your choice, so that you understand what's asked of you. So let's take a closer look at this form and what you'll need to do to make your new PIP selection. So on pages 2 and 3, you'll find section A. Now, section A of the form explains the risks and benefits of the options that you have. This means that it lists out those options we talked about earlier, those 6 choices, and tells you in plain language what each choice would mean for you and the potential trade-offs you make if you select that option. Page 4 has section B. Now, section B is where you'll actually make your choice by initialing the form next to 1. And please make sure you initial only next to only 1 of those options which are available to you. Also, if you choose the $250,000 with exclusions option I talked about a little earlier, this is where you would list the names and birth dates of the people you are excluding from your PIP medical coverage. It's very important that you know that you only need to list the names and birth dates of people that you are excluding from PIP, not everybody in your household, just the ones you don't want to have PIP medical coverage. Now, finally, also on page 4 of the form, you'll find section C. Now here, you'll need to initial the form next to 4 statements which confirm that you understand what you're choosing and how it applies to you. Now, finally, also on page 4, you'll sign and date the form. Once you've given that form back to your agent or your company, you will have finished making your PIP choice. So as you can see, it is a fairly simple process, but it is a very important one. And you really need to make sure that you understand all of your options before you make your choice. Be sure you've carefully considered everything before you do that. So now with that, we finished talking about PIP. So let's talk about BIPD. So earlier, you'll recall I mentioned that there are 3 mandatory coverages to a Michigan auto policy. This is the second and final one that we're going to talk about here today. So another choice you're going to get to make under this new law is on your level of BI coverage. BIPD is the portion of a no-fault policy that will pay up to those coverage limits if the policyholder is found legally responsible for certain damages. It pays for those claims which are made against you. Now, currently, the minimum BI coverage level is $20,000 for a person who is hurt or killed in an accident, $40,000 for 2 or more persons in any one accident, and $10,000 for property damage in another state. So that's if you sideswiped a fence in Ohio or took out a mailbox in Indiana, something like that. That's where that coverage comes in. Now, the new law is going to allow drivers the ability to choose BI limits that best suit their family needs and budget. The old $20,000 per person and $40,000 per accident limits hadn't been adjusted for inflation in something like 30 years. And as you all know, things have gotten a little more expensive in the last 30 years. So drivers will now have the choice of purchasing coverage of $50,000 per person and $100,000 per accident, or even higher, to protect yourselves against the increased potential for lawsuits. Now, if you don't make a specific choice with your insurance agent or company, the new default minimum is $250,000 per person per accident and $500,000 for 2 or more persons in any one accident. Now, you really should consider consulting with legal and financial advisors to determine how best to protect your assets and income before working with your licensed insurance agent to select your new coverage limit. So like with your PIP choice, your company or agent will give you a form to fill out to make this new BIPD choice. The form you see on the screen is the approved form, and your company should use a form which is identical. It probably won't say sample on it, but other than that, it should be identical. We also have this posted on our website as well, just like we did with the PIP form, so you can zoom in and read it to make sure you understand what's happening. So again, michigan.gov/auto insurance. As with the PIP form, you really need to make sure that you understand and read the form before you fill out a couple of small areas and then sign the form to make that BIPD selection. Now here, I also want you to know that we have produced videos on how to fill out the BI and PIP form, and you can find those on our website as well. So let's go through the form a little bit here and show you what it looks like. On page 1 of the form, Part A explains BI coverage in detail and tells you a little more about how the form works. Part B explains the potential risks you face as a driver in Michigan and explains how BI coverage protects you from those risks. Part C, you'll initial the form in 3 places, next to the 3 statements that confirm that you understand the risks and benefits of the coverage you're choosing. Finally, in Part C, you'll sign and date the form. Now, once you've done that and given that form back to your agent or company, you will have completed the BIPD selection process. So with that, that covers the big changes from the law that really affect you today that you need to know about. Before we get to your questions, I do want to take a little more time to tell you about how DIFS can help you. To quickly recap what we've just seen, you'll have 2 forms to complete. The PIP form is where you pick the amount of medical coverage you want for your family. The BI form is how you pick your insurance, how much your insurance company will pay.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Ian with the Department of Insurance and Financial Services. We are experiencing some brief technical difficulties, and I do apologize for the delay. If you can bear with us for a moment longer, we should have things back up and running shortly. While we wait for that, however, we will start answering some of your questions. We do have Parker Fisher here with us. He's one of our insurance analysts. Parker, would you be all right with answering a few questions while we wait for the presentation to get started back up?
Certainly.
Super. Thank you very much. We'll start out with one of the first questions. I was told that Medicare won't cover injuries from car accidents. Am I covered under the new law if I rely on my Medicare and opt out of personal injury protection?
All right. So this is a good question, and thank you for your question. So we have, received confirmation that Medicare will pay for Medicare-related covered services to enrollees who do decide to opt out of PIP medical benefits, and if they're injured in an accident and don't have any other available coverage. If you do choose to opt out, you may rely on your Medicare coverage. But I mean, do be aware that the enrollee will still remain financially responsible for any co-insurances, co-payments, or deductibles, or any other services that Medicare doesn't cover.
Thank you very much, Parker. And it looks like we do have Zach back. I think we just experienced a slight technical difficulty. I am going to pass the microphone back to Zach to finish up the presentation, and then we will get back to questions. Thank you again, Parker.
Thank you.
All right, folks, I hope you all can hear me now. I do apologize for that, the perils of teleworking. So I'm not sure how far I actually got before everything dropped, so I'll just start back with this slide right here. So to quickly recap what we saw prior to technical difficulties, you will have two forms to complete. The Pip form is where you're going to pick the amount of medical coverage you want for your family. The BI form is where you'll pick how much you want your insurance company to pay on your behalf if you're at fault in an accident. Both of those forms contain all of the information you'll need to make your selection. And with that, that covers the big picture changes we need to talk about right now. Before we get to your questions, or continue, should I say, answering your questions, I do want to take some time to tell you a little more about how diffs can help you. Perhaps the most important thing I can tell you today is that we do want to hear from you. We are not going to be able to answer your individual questions about your specific auto policy or your specific needs. However, we do have people in our office Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. to help answer those questions, whether they're auto insurance related or general insurance questions or even financial questions. Those folks are there to help. Now, that call center is housed within our Office of Consumer Services, which also handles all complaints that come into our office. If you're concerned that your auto insurance company is unfairly delaying or denying your claim, perhaps charging you the wrong premium, or otherwise just not performing as they're required to under the law, we are here to help. Now, we do first encourage you to attempt to resolve your complaint directly with that agent or company, but if you can't reach a resolution, you may file a complaint in writing with our office here at diffs via email or through our website. Speaking of websites, we have created a new one to help educate consumers about the new law. This new website, as I've said a couple of times now, and we'll say a couple more times, is michigan.gov/auto insurance. That site includes a way to inform consumers on the auto insurance changes made by this new law, tips for shopping for insurance, how to file a complaint and what that complaint process looks like, what to do if you're having issues with your insurance company, agency, or agent, and a place to report insurance fraud. Now, we have already updated this several times, and we will continue to do so on an ongoing basis to provide the latest information to you as Michigan drivers as we do get closer and even past July 1st, 2020. So to reiterate, we do want to hear from you. We all work for you, and we are here to help you with these new changes. So again, you will get a couple of forms from your agent or company for PIP and BI. Those forms will describe the benefits and risks of the coverage options. You may also want to consult with your agent to discuss your personal auto insurance needs before you fill those out. Please call or email our office if you have any questions about the forms or anything else related to the new auto insurance law. Our phone number is 833-ASK-DIFS, D-I-F-S. We also have a auto insurance specific email box, which on the screen there, as you can see, is autoinsurance@michigan.gov. And for the last time, I do want to encourage you to visit our website, michigan.gov/auto insurance, for those sample forms, publications, some handouts, and those videos as well. So with that, I think we've hit the highlights, and we can now start to take more of those questions that you've typed into the chat system. Please feel free to ask more questions as they come up. And as a reminder, look for that speech bubble with the question mark, click on it, and then you'll be able to type in your questions. Please remember that your questions about your specific policy should be saved for our office analysts. Now with that, I'd like to reintroduce our question moderator, Ian Oberg. Ian?
Thank you very much, Zach. Moving forward, we'll go with the next question. And Zach, this question will be for you. What is qualified health coverage and how will I know if I have it?
Sure. Qualifying health coverage can be Medicare Parts A and B or Medicare Advantage. That counts as qualifying. And a health insurance policy that does not limit or exclude auto accident injuries and has a deductible of less than $6,000. Parker, am I missing anything on that?
No, I believe you hit those points.
Great.
So a qualified health coverage, like you said, is a health policy that doesn't exclude or limit coverage for motor vehicle accidents and has a deductible for $6,000 or less. It may also include Medicare in some instances, but the major qualified health coverage is exactly what you said, yes.
Great, thank you, Parker. Just to confirm, Parker is our auto insurance analyst, so he's very knowledgeable about such things. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach and Parker. Next question. I have ongoing health issues from a crash that occurred before the law went into effect. Will I still get care under the new law? And Parker, would you like to answer that one?
Certainly. So this is a good question. So the law affects claims on a going forward basis. So under the old system, we all had the unlimited PIP medical coverage. So if you're still, receiving care from an accident that happened beforehand under the old system, those are grandfathered in a sense. You're not going to lose that care or lose coverage for that care. So it's for claims on a going forward basis after July 2nd, 2020, based on your PIP selection level.
Thank you, Parker. All right. This next question, we'll toss this one to Zach, if that works. I'm a motorcyclist and I'm worried I won't get personal injury protection coverage under the new law if a car hits me. Is this true?
If you don't mind, I might throw that one to Parker. He knows more about motorcycle order of priority than I do.
All right. I'll be happy to take this one. It's a good question. So for motorcyclists, the basic premise of the law still has remained unchanged. If you're a motorcyclist and you are in an accident with a motor vehicle, the order of priority says that the motorcyclist would be able to claim PIP benefits from the motor vehicle involved in the accident. If such insurance doesn't exist or the driver didn't have that PIP medical, the order of priority does allow the motorcyclist, if they do have their own car, if they do have their own PIP policy, to claim from their own PIP medical insurance. But however, the rule of thumb is mostly motorcyclists will still be able to claim PIP medical benefits from the driver involved in the accident.
Thank you very much, Parker. All right, for this next question, will the discounts mandated in the new law actually happen? How is the state ensuring that insurers are complying with the new law? I'm going to pass that one to Parker.
Yeah, so this is another good question. So the discounts, there are in the law clearly states that the mandatory rate deductions, they are mandatory and they are in place for the next 8 years. DIFS is requiring companies to file their rates, and we're reviewing their rates to make sure that they are compliant with the rate reductions. And we have not approved any rate that is not compliant with the statute or the law. And we have found that the discounts are have actually superseded the mandates in the law. So the discounts, they are here and they are actually happening.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Parker. Our next question. I renewed my policy recently before the July 1st effective date. Do I need to contact my insurance company, or will the changes happen automatically? I'm going to pass that one to you as well, Parker.
All right, thank you. So the new law is effective for policies issued or renewed on or after July 2nd. So if you do renew your policy before that effective date, it's not within, it's before the law goes into effect. So you would renew under the old system. However, if you do renew under the old system, that's still your choice. You should still be able to contact your company. You should still be able to ask for options. A lot of companies will permit you to change your policy midterm. It depends on the company, but you are more than free to talk to your company and ask about the different coverage options that are available if you are interested in switching to be under the new law system.
Thank you very much, Parker. I'm gonna toss this one to Zach. Is there still a fee for those who were previously uninsured?
Sure. So the law has changed in that regard. Previously, auto insurance companies could charge a penalty to people who were a fee to people who had gone without auto insurance for a period of time. Under this new law, this penalty can't be charged for drivers who apply for insurance during the 18-month period starting July 1st, 2020. So this amnesty period that we're calling it is a really good time to make sure that you are compliant with Michigan law and that you're protecting your family appropriately. So check into auto insurance.
Thank you very much, Zach. Next question. Do I have to buy unlimited personal injury protection if I don't have health insurance? And why don't we give this one to Parker?
All right, thank you for your question. So your choices under the law, your PIP medical selection choices are not necessarily bound to if you have health insurance or not. You're not required to select unlimited if you don't have health insurance. You're still free to choose the other PIP medical options that you may be eligible for if you don't have health insurance, such as the 250K option or the 500K option. So health insurance does not necessarily dictate those choices under the law. However, it may affect your choice or ability to be eligible to opt out of PIP or exclude PIP. But if you do not have health insurance, you are not required to get the highest unlimited option.
Thank you very much, Parker. Our next question is, whoop, I clicked on the wrong section, one moment. Next question is going to be, whoop, I lost my place in the list of questions. Sorry about that. There we are. Do I have to buy unlimited personal injury protection if I, oh, sorry, that was the one that I literally just asked. Will I have to fill out the personal injury protection form every time I renew my policy? I will pass that one over to Zach Dillinger.
Sure. So that's going to depend on the coverage choice that you make. Everyone's going to have to fill out this PIP form when they renew or start a new auto insurance policy for the first time after July 1st, 2020. After that, you should only have to fill out the new form if you're making a change to your coverage, or if you previously opted out or excluded someone in your household from PIP coverage. Now, this is done to ensure that you've not had a change in health insurance or situation that could result in you no longer being eligible for those options. Some insurers may require you to complete the PIP form more often, though, and you should contact your insurer or agent to learn more about that, what your specific company requires.
Super. Thank you very much, Zach. We are starting to run low on time. I think we have time for another couple questions, though. Next one is, what are the MCCA and other statutory assessment fees on my bill? I am going to pass that one off to Parker.
All right, thank you for your question. So, so first off, it may depend on your insurance company how they kind of like lay out it on the charge line items. Everyone may call it a different name, but in general, yes, there are a couple statutory assessments or fees that may appear on your auto insurance bill. The big one being the MCCA fee, which for those who don't know, the MCCA stands for the Michigan Catastrophic Claims Association. So that's this private nonprofit association that provides reinsurance for all auto insurers who operate in Michigan. So it's responsible for reimbursing claims that exceed a certain amount for, very catastrophic accidents that are very costly. So, it will allow coverage to be provided for those exceptional claims.
Thank you so much, Parker. And actually, we will have you answer our last question. Our last question actually comes from John P. The question is, if health insurance covers me as a secondary to auto insurance, am I at risk selecting $0 in PIP and in an accident for my medical?
All right, so this is a good question, and if I understand it correctly, so if your health insurance covers you secondary, and are you at risk for selecting $0 in PIP? So our PIP selection form, everyone will receive the PIP selection form and they'll be able to make their PIP selection. So the understanding is, if you decide to exclude or opt out of PIP, you will know because you will have selected that on your PIP medical selection form. So the PIP form has you go through all the acknowledgments, all the language. It says I am aware, I am cognizant that I am choosing $0 in PIP coverage. So you should never be, there should never be a situation in that where you were unaware that you didn't have 0 PIP because you are required to select it and consciously choose that. But on the other hand, for health insurance that covers you secondary or primary, it's more of a if that's more of a coordination of benefits scenario, which is more of a separate consideration than whether you have whether you select 0 in PIP or not. So so basically you should be able to fill that out on the form, and it should be very clear on the form that you are selecting a certain level of PIP.
Thank you so much, Parker. Mute. Oh, Zach, you are muted. Hang on.
Sorry, folks. Somebody has to do that every event, and it's just my turn to do it. So thank you all for attending today. We did receive a significant number of questions for today's live broadcast, and we have simply run out of time to answer all of them. If we didn't answer your question directly, we do apologize. But you can email your written question to the address on the screen, which will pop up here in a second. It's autoinsurance@michigan.gov, or give us a call at 833-ASK-DIFFS. And please do check back to the FAQs posted to our website, which will update, and we do update frequently after events like this. So our website again is michigan.gov/autoinsurance. You can also connect with us on social media, including LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. With that, I'm going to turn things back over to Karen from AARP to close us out. Thanks again and have a safe day. Karen?
Hi again. Thank you. This is Karen from AARP, and really appreciate. Thank you to Zachary, Ian, and Parker for all the great information. And thank you to the Department of Insurance and Financial Services. I jumped onto the website while you were doing the presentation, and there's great information there for us. So I do recommend everybody go there. They have a lot of the questions that were asked already answered on there. So as I mentioned at the beginning, if you'd like to find out more about other virtual programs that AARP is doing, either with other organizations, or just on our own, you can visit the aarp.org/mi website, and they are listed there. With that, I want to once again say thank you for participating, stay safe, and I wish you all a wonderful day.